When you say collection rate, what do you mean? You mean compliance? I won't want to mention a figure because it's not like we've calculated it, but I do know that it's not high. And the way that we typically would determine that, and it's actually an area that we're actually trying to look at ways in which we can actually calculate the actual compliance rate. But one way of assessing what the compliance rate is to look at, okay, what's our contribution to GDP, okay, on an annual basis, and look at the various sectors that contribute to GDP. The largest contributor to GDP right now is agriculture. That's like 44% based on 2009 rates. And if I look at the makeup of our tax profile, again, that's another issue because you have 37 revenue authorities, we actually cannot precisely tell you how much is coming from taxes exactly, and that's a project that we're working on. But if you look at the fact that 95% or 95% of the taxes ultimately come from the federal, and if you look at the way the federal taxes are distributed, very little comes from agriculture, very little. So the 44% you could actually say are really not, the 44% of GDP, we actually do not have a counterpart in terms of contribution to tax. The next highest contributor, for example, is to look at, if you look at trade, wholesale trade, that's another area that is weak. So if we put all that together, because the highest contributor to tax is oil, and oil in terms of contribution to GDP is probably about 12–15%. So if you put all that together, you find that in terms of compliance rates, and if you look at it from the point of view of our population, and how much of our population is actually on the taxpayer database, extremely low. So don't let me give a figure before they quote it in the newspaper and say that I said the compliance rate is there, but it's low. It's low. And a lot of the things that we've been doing to be able to improve that, one is to get the statistics right. Two is the Unique Taxpayer Identification Number project, because right now we can't tell you the number of taxpayers that we have across the country. And so for the first time, all the revenue authorities are collaborating on the Unique Taxpayer Identification Number project, where every taxpayer, be it a corporate taxpayer or individual taxpayer, will have a unique taxpayer identification number. Then we can begin to get into projections of how much taxpayers do we have, what's the percentage of what we could have, and begin to give you those kind of statistics.
Segun Farish is my name. I just want to know, out of curiosity, that is there any statutory rebate or concession or incentive that you give to corporate bodies who willingly engage in a lot of CSR projects? For instance, the company decides on its own to invest 5% of its profit. Do they gain anything at the end of the day?
Okay, well, let's, first of all, I don't know whether the company that is investing 5% of its profit is doing that because of tax, or they're just doing it because it's helping the community. So in that sense, the tax laws have not been designed to encourage such practice per se. However, you have, like I mentioned in the Companies Income Tax Act, you do have a situation where you can donate. Such donations are liable expenses up to a point, okay? And there's a percentage of your profits that is allowed for donations. Beyond that, it won't be allowed. Now, what we've also tried to do is, and not just that those donations are liable, it must be donations for listed funds and listed organizations. So you must, if you donate, for example, to the Red Cross, it's an liable expense. But if you donate to Kenneth Amaechi & Co., even if it's for the community, once it's not listed on the 5th schedule, it's not an liable expense. So when I was talking about further encouraging CSR, one of the regulations that we came up with recently, but just after that the cabinet dissolved, and it needs the Ministry of Finance to approve, is to expand, actually to move away in terms of listing organizations on the 5th schedule to identify the kinds of areas in which, if you donate to those kinds of areas and provided you provide evidence that shows that you've done that, then it will be an liable expense. So we've actually expanded the scope of what you could donate to and to contribute to the community, including, empowerment issues, youth issues, women issues, focusing on generic listings as opposed to individual organizations. to encourage that kind of behavior. But right now, the law doesn't allow you to just indiscriminately just donate. It has to be to the listed organizations and up to a specific amount.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Francisca Ubinatu. My question really is on CSR and how it relates to the accounting profession. Because I was really looking forward to seeing something on the role of the accountant in CSR in Nigeria. I was quite glad to see what you put up there about effective reporting framework. So I think this is something that accountants have to work on. But I'd like to know, one, how soon will this regulatory framework be rolled out? And I'd like to also know how it can be enforced, saying that at this moment you do not have a database of all companies that pay taxes and all companies that should pay taxes. On the other hand, I'd also like to know if you're working with the professional accounting bodies with a view to ensuring that their members are properly trained to provide this. Because currently I know the stewardship of the accountants, usually for the benefit of the companies. But how would we ensure that the companies will in fact comply with that which you are going to ask them to do, without, like you said, padding up the books, or perhaps also ensuring that in some way they do not reflect all that they should be reflecting. So I'd like to know your thoughts on this.